need someone to talk to, and you don't know what to do. Call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. I'm your host, Dania Roberts, and once again, we're here to give insights and to share information while bringing light to various topics that affect our communities at large. Kind Counseling is a mental health practice that gives hope to the hopeless through mental health empowerment and spiritual insight. And today we have a great show for you. We're discussing fatherhood on this Father's Day weekend. I'm flying solo today. My co-hosts abandoned me. They're absent, hanging out, chilling in this nice weather. But we all good though. We all good. And we have a special guest today here at the podcast. We have the fatherhood consultant, Mr. James Worthy. All right. Before I bring him in, let me just tell you a little bit about Mr. Worthy. All right. James and his wife of 25 years are the proud parents of three incredible young men: Jalen, 20, Donovan, 18, and Amari, 14. James believes that his biggest accomplishment is being a caring and loving father and husband. Amen to that. He has dedicated almost 30 years to the education, support, engagement, and mentoring to men and fathers across the country. This 30-year entrepreneur and business owner has worked with over 10,000 of Baltimore's most disenfranchised fathers and families. He has also worked with and trained countless number of human services professionals across the country. Mr. Worthy has also been dedicated to the training and development of entrepreneurs. His work of supporting business owners and their families has allowed him to be an inspiration to fathers and their families. Let's welcome Mr. Worthy.
Hey,
Hi, sir.
brother Cammy, I tell you, thank you, man, for having me here. I'm more than excited to be a part of this podcast and the incredible work that you and the company are doing. Because that if we're gonna talk fatherhood, we're gonna talk men, then boy, mental health services and that is something that we got to dig into. So
all right,
it's a pleasure to be here.
That's good. So let me first ask you, man, how'd you get the name the fatherhood consultant? How did that happen?
I'm glad you asked.
Right.
You know, when I first got into the world of work, I was one of those kids, man. I've never ever thought that I would help anybody. The human service, that was not James Worthy. James Worthy went to Penn State University, majored in business management with a minor in hotel and restaurant management.
Okay.
And I wanted to make money. That was me. I was that kid. I grew up in Southeast DC. I saw a lot of poverty. I saw a lot of can't own, can't have. So James was like, I don't want to work for nobody. I want to own my own.
Okay.
And that first consulting business, a traditional business, my wife got me, well, my girlfriend at the time, we've been together so long, everything that we've done has been from girlfriend, boyfriend to a married couple. But my wife got me my first business contract with a Head Start program. She introduced me to this Head Start program. And in that process, I was going in and out of this program, suited and booted, a briefcase and all thing. I was doing a fiscal policies procedures manual for them, writing it up. And amazingly enough, this young kid, first day I was there, threw a little Tonka truck at the teacher, popped the door open, and was sprinting down the hall towards the exit. And I heard somebody say, "Grab him." Now, you know, like I know, brother Cammy, you don't touch nobody else's kids. And I was like, I know you're not asking this man to grab somebody. Nah, not doing it. And the lady, the voice was just so command, grab him. It was almost like the principal screamed at me. And I went right back to elementary school. And I just grabbed the little dude and I was like, what are you doing? And I take him back in the room and I put him in the chair. I said, sit down, don't move.
Mm.
And the teacher looks at me and said, that's the first time he's listened all day long.
Wow.
And that started a process. Every day I walked in that building, that little dude looked at the door. And the minute I came down the hall, he popped that door open and ran out, straight out of the room and grabbed me.
Mm.
And for 15, 20, 30 minutes, he was my kid. You
Wow.
know, he would go in the little office I was working in and stay with me till he got himself together. And I'd walk him back down to class. And then it was 2. Then it was 3.
Mm.
And when I finished, the director of the program, Rest Her Soul, Miss Sheila Tucker, said, have you ever done any work in male involvement, men's services, and fatherhood? And I'm a businessman, Cammy. So you
All
know what I said.
right.
Yes.
I got you. I got you.
Oh man. And went home and started researching what is male involvement, what is fatherhood services, what is all of that.
Mm.
And I read some information. I came back, we talked, we put a contract together business wise, and that started it. I started working with dads in the Head Start who had been disconnected from their kids, who had been, maybe unfortunately incarcerated or dealing with substance abuse, and started fathers groups and employment groups, and
Mm.
working in the community, getting brothers out of jail, going to court with brothers. And I just started really learning the field because I didn't know there was a field.
Mm.
What was coined responsible fatherhood. It's a subsection of human services that back when I started this thing almost 30 years ago, nobody really ever heard of it.
Mm.
But it was a field of study, a field of work. And I got some education and some thoughts and some understanding. And because of the success of what we were doing there, I started on a national level being invited to teach and work with other programs and share and what we were doing and all of it. And man, that just blossomed into a career that I
Wow.
never ever planned on. So
Wow.
it's been enlightening, it's been fun, been difficult, but truly that's where the consulting thing come from. I said I'll teach it to anybody. And being an entrepreneur, you know what I did? I had to capitalize as a business. So
I hear you.
I just started working with people.
Okay. All right. So, I guess would you say that in terms of dealing with fathers, working with fathers, was that like a gradual thing or like an event happened like with that young man or like other things that led to you saying this is what I want to do?
Well, you know what? I think what for me, as I got into the game of in the profession, I started really starting to see. I started to reevaluate how I was brought up. Um, the narrative of not everybody, but the narrative of the majority of the men I was working with, the narrative was the same. No dad, single parent household, kind of raising yourself, no male involvement, no direction. That that was such a pervasive narrative. I was like, wait a minute, I don't come from that. Even though I grew up in quote unquote the hood, and I hate that concept of the hood, but I grew up in an environment that fostered that. Who I was around, we we never noticed if someone didn't have a dad in the house because we were all so close. It was such a village
Mm.
effect. But then I started to really look around me, and it was funny because I had 2 sets of friends. I had my city crew, and then when my parents moved out of the city and into the county, I had my county crew.
All right. Okay.
And it was funny, my county crew, there was moms and dads in the house.
Mm.
But a lot of my
Mm.
city crew, there was no dads in the house. My
Mm.
my county crew had a little money to be able to do family stuff.
Mm.
My city crew didn't.
Mm.
So as I started to look at it, I looked at me as a anomaly to the people I was doing work with, because I grew up with my great grandfather, my grandfather, and my father
Mm.
all, wrapped around me 24/7. I
Wow.
was looking for some father absence because I couldn't do nothing.
You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now back to the show.
Private school, I got kicked out of public school, so I went to private school all the way through 12th grade. There was way structure, too much in my opinion.
Wow.
So I was like, I wanted that flexibility to be out and do the thing, and I flirted with hanging with the wrong crowd and all that, but I just had so much that brought me back to not being able to be with the wrong crowd because it just wasn't happening. When your dad is, when people come to your house and your dad is the one sitting there interacting with you guys and tell me about you, kid, and you really don't get the bad crowd to come to your crib when your dad is there doing it.
I got you.
So it really did change how I saw the work, because as people's narrative started to be something totally different, I just took it upon myself in my brain to say, understand the narrative, but share an example of something different. So that's how I did the work. That's what really got me into the work, because many brothers and sisters and parents started to cling to me almost like a dad figure for them, even though we were the same age. Some of them was older than me, but I brought a wisdom from growing up in that environment that I couldn't walk away from the work. Put it that way. The work claimed me. I didn't claim it.
I got you. Okay. So how do you like define a father, or or just what is he responsible for? Like for people who may not know.
Well, there's a in this field, let me say, in this field, the word responsible is in my internal piece a word that I'm not even I don't even like. Let me just say that out loud. Because if you think about it, would you ever, and I'm gonna ask you, man, would you ever walk up to a mother and say, we want to put you in a responsible motherhood program?
Right, I got you.
What type of disrespect would that look like?
Right, exactly.
But in this field, and when you talk funding and supporting grown men or grown males, let me go there. I'm 6'1", 235. Supporting me is not a pretty funding opportunity. It's not a pretty human service intervention type of thing. So when you say responsible fatherhood, the reason that word is used is because everyone can get around saying, do what you're supposed to do. And to that point, now everybody puts on you what you are supposed to do as a father. So when you ask me that question, what is a father responsible for? The father is responsible for the same thing a mother is responsible for: the complete support and raising of a family. What does that mean?
All right.
Let's go with our stereotypical. Yes, providing, protecting, guiding. Okay, I can go with all of that. But what about nurturing, loving, caring, all of those things that aren't traditionally in the way we're structured in our society, aren't the words that you use for a tall brother, bearded up, strong and good looking. They don't say, oh, he's so loving, he's so nurturing, he stays home and takes care of the kids and does their hair. That ain't what they looking at from you.
Okay.
They want to know what type of check you bringing in for the kids.
All right. Okay.
So when you ask me responsibility, the baselines, of course, it's the providing, protecting, all of those baselines. But I look at fatherhood on a whole nother level. One of the things I believe fathers are responsible for is their own personal development and mental strength and physical understanding, because you have to be that example for the kids that follow you.
Mm.
If you are not willing, and I'm gonna use mental health for a change because it's such taboo, especially when you go into the fathers of color and ethnicity, there's such a stigma about getting help with your mental and emotional
Right.
well-being.
Right.
That, we don't talk, we don't do that type stuff,
Mm.
or at least let me say this. Traditionally, in those service areas I've been, that's not what men talk about. Where men usually get their mental health counseling, it's at the barbershop. ran,
Definitely.
ran away with my
Definitely.
boys, and now we got a little sophisticated, is at the cigar bar. we,
All right.
we,
All right.
so when you ask what the responsibility is,
Mm.
I'm a believer, number one, that every parent, especially dad, one of your number one responsibilities is to continually develop and be the best you can be. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of children.
Mm. Okay.
And if you have children before you are quote unquote a grown man,
Mm.
and I'm gonna speak to that a little bit,
Okay.
because a grown male can have a baby.
Right. Right.
Biologically, you can make a baby
Mm.
when your parts work.
Right.
But a man is the one who chooses fatherhood.
Right.
A male can create a child, but it's the development of a man that chooses fatherhood. And in that choice, now you deal with all the things that come along with being a parent, being a father, being in relationship with the co-parent of your child.
Okay.
Some of the things that I hear, that's my baby mama. Ooh, stop,
Okay.
stop,
Okay.
because that's the co-parent of your child.
All right. Okay.
There's a level of respect that comes with that, even though you may not be romantically involved. The responsibility of a man is to make sure that you do all you can to have the relationship that best suits the raising of that child. Doesn't
Mm.
matter what you and her do because y'all grown individuals, but it does matter how you as a man work towards having the best relationship. Now, to have a relationship, you need both sides, but if you're going to talk responsibility and leading in your steps, you have to do the best you can
Okay.
to have the relationship. So I'm a believer that it starts there with getting men and fathers into a position to really be able to raise a child. And I know that was a lot around that question, but
No, no,
that,
no.
that
That's good.
word responsibility means a lot in this game.
Okay. Well, I mean, like as you mentioned before, in terms of mental health, what I'm seeing a lot in my office is a lot of people in their 20s, 30s who are openly coming into my office and admitting that, like the guys, I don't know how to be a man, and the women are saying, I don't know how to deal with men. So that to me, that's one of the obvious consequences of father absence.
Mm, you never lie.
All right.
And the other thing that I'm noticing, and this is a do I want to say positive? This is a positive byproduct. I'll use that word, positive byproduct of these decades of what we'll say is absenteeism.
Mm,
Is that our younger generations aren't buying the stereotypical things that we bought. So stereotypical John Wayne, if you come through the tough guy John Wayne education syndrome, get up, you're okay, don't cry, you do. That was so prevalent in who men were in this society that you couldn't walk into an office like yours and say, I'm struggling.
mm,
But because so many of our younger generation have seen it not work for their
mm,
families, whether that be the job market, the how you handle things, what you say is valuable, the younger people are not buying
mm,
the same stuff that we bought.
mm.
So I'm glad to hear that they're not buying. You can't walk into Cammie's office and say, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
That for me is a positive byproduct, that stereotypical way of thinking about things is starting to wean in people's ideas. Because most of us, I don't know about you, Cammie, but look,
Mm,
if it hadn't been for my dad, man, this whole thing of manhood, yo, bro, I I saw what people call manhood. It was a little crazy.
Right.
It was it
Right.
put you in some bad situations, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
but the era, I'm 53, so the era in which I grew up in didn't give you the freedom to say I don't know. But I mean, think about it. When you hit 18, yo,
All
you
right.
better get yourself a job. You grown man now. Go ahead, take care of yourself.
Right. Right.
What's
Wow.
that
What does
mean?
that mean?
How that work? I'm 18.
Right.
Look, I'm a grown man,
Right.
but I can't buy alcohol. I'm a
Right.
grown
Right.
man, but I
Exactly.
can't go to the club.
Right.
But I can get a rifle and go
Right.
kill for us.
True. True. I
So
hear what you're saying.
that is so I'm happy to hear you saying that, because if we're going to combat this absenteeism, if we're going to really have those families that have that security of both strong parents, we're going to have to allow young men and men of all ages to say, I'm not sure, I need support. It's got to become okay. And one of the things that has also happened in this process of dads not being able to be there because they're not ready, or they just miss it, whatever it is. um our ladies have had to take on this thing of superwoman, and many, especially in the African American population, many of our women have worn that as a badge of honor.
Right.
Yo, I take
Right.
care of everything. That's how, I don't need a man.
Right.
And I don't say need a man in this romantic, but I can handle it all. I can bring home the bacon fried up in the pan, take care of you, I can do it all. And
Right.
the honest answer is, yeah, you can.
Mm.
But to
Mm.
what toll?
Right. Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
now what you've seen is that badge of honor has been worn so much. How many of our
Mm.
ladies are starting to say, I'm tired of doing it all?
Well, I'm glad that you said that because that's coming in my office a lot now. Right? No, meaning like because these women have been worn down, I get a lot of calls. Listen, I need help with my teenage boy. I don't know what to do with him.
And
You know what I
and
mean?
and,
But go
and
ahead.
let's say to that issue, the statistics are starting to flip. You start to look at households, single parent households. How many of them are being run by men now?
Hmm.
The first,
Okay.
the first census study ever, just this
Hmm.
last 10 years, showed that you've seen and I don't want to quote incorrectly because somebody hit a podcast like he was wrong on his numbers, so I won't quote
Right.
numbers, but this was the first time you saw a switch in the
Hmm.
number of single family households being headed by men, and more and more children are being they're having uh, um, uh, they're having custodial rights given to men, and kids
Hmm.
are living with their fathers. The first time ever have you seen that. In so what that says to me is, just like the stereotypical, I can't say I'm having problems is changing. The stereotypical mommy gotta take the kids is starting to
Hmm.
change.
Okay. All right.
And systematically in these areas of human services, because I believe in the funding and the work to work with families who may be disenfranchised, because if you got a little something, don't nobody care to help. So
Hmm.
let's go to
Hmm.
the people who the world
Right.
will still provide some services to. But in that work, over these last 30 years, more and more of the funding, more and more of the understanding and the research is starting to say, hey, you've got to include men in the services. You've got to include fathers in these services to strengthen families. That is a word that I'm loving, because that's what human services is starting to speak to: family strengthening.
Hmm. Okay.
And
Okay.
as long as we keep that as the focus,
Hmm.
now we can say dad is a part of that family. Because think about it, the services that are here to help families, where did
Hmm.
they come from? Where did those governmental structures come from? They came from a understanding that years and years and years ago, when our men went off to war and they were killed in war, women and children were left abandoned. So the systems picked up with WIC.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
Okay.
right.
And those services were not built for what they're trying to serve today.
Hmm.
See,
That's good.
because the people who were coming home from war changed as well. When you saw people coming home from the Vietnam War, now there are more and more people of color coming home from the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Now you saw the introduction to of drug abuse and this and that. And these services started saying, hey, that guy's not dead. He's back, but he's not in a position to take care of his kids.
Okay.
So
All
what
right.
did those services do? If you still want to get services, dad has got to be gone, either dead or out of the house.
Right.
So what does that do? That now puts a single parent, in those days, mothers, in a position that if you want these services, he
Mm.
got to be gone.
Right. Right. Right.
But now, how we pay for that?
Mm.
Oh, if he not there, you got to give him up so we can get some child support out of him.
Mm. Wow. Okay.
Now, what do? You rift that family because what in our world? Oh, you snitched on me?
Okay. Right. Right. Right.
So that way, and what has happened, that's the history and what we've seen. And I'll speak to Maryland a little bit because I was very impressed and I was a part of this. But Maryland now actually has a law in place that if a young family or a family comes to get help for a child financially, they don't automatically say, hey, give me the dad's name and do child support. They have something here in Maryland called a program called uh, um, oh, I just went blank. Sorry, that's called 53.
All right. All
But
right.
it,
It's all good.
um, it really engages or
Mm.
encourages the family to work together, and they get them in services together, whether that be job training, education training, but they do it as a family.
Mm.
And they
Okay.
give them a time period to get the training and the education, but also this gives them a chance to get healthy relationship and marriage counseling. I won't say
Mm.
counseling, but education,
Okay.
because that's something that comes out. Everybody doesn't get the counseling, but there is education programs to teach you how to have healthy relationships. So even if romantically you don't stay together, you can still get the skills you need to have a good co-parenting relationship. So that's why, this time together is so important to me, because there are things that are now different. So if we are, 40 and over,
Okay.
you
Right.
know, it's a new world when you start talking about how families are being formulated, how families are being served. You
Right.
can't kind of live in your old understanding. And a podcast like this gives people a new way of looking at some traditional things. Like, when we talk counseling, when we talk getting mental health services, now mental health is really not, you're going crazy. And
Right.
I'm sorry,
Exactly.
that's not a clinical term.
No, that's good. That's good. I got you. Right.
But it's not just sitting there saying you're having a mental health breakdown or schizophrenia, about you're
Right.
talking your emotional health.
Right.
It is paramount
Right.
to dealing with anything. And that's why this thing of fatherhood, man, we got so many guys out here that are having the same symptoms as people who are diagnosed with um post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm. Right.
you know Come on, man. You gotta help, you gotta be able to serve people now. You gotta be able to serve these dads to get them ready.
Let me ask a question. A couple things. In terms of absentee fathers, right?
Hmm.
Some of the organizations that you were involved with, like, do they actively seek them out, or is it more so they're supporting the people who are struggling as a result of it?
There is a number of different interventions. One of the programs, the program that I'm so proud of, and here in the Baltimore metropolitan area is called the Center for Urban Families. And incredible leader in this field of responsible fatherhood, Mr. Joe Jones. Um, he comes from Baltimore City. He comes from dad left early. He comes from, I was substance abuser. He comes from I was womanizing. He comes from all of that. And he decided, look, let's find every guy out here that is struggling and help him out. But what we found is a lot of guys out here struggling are dads. And the
Right.
sad part, many of them, when you get on back on your feet, they're taking over the role of dad in somebody else's child's life
Mm,
because they
right.
weren't that for their child.
Right. Right. Mm,
So now what we're doing is working with that dad to be the best man he can be and support that child, but then work with him to reestablish the relationship with his child. So it wasn't a thing of who we going to look for, it's who's presenting themselves.
mm. Okay.
Guys are presenting this multiple families thing is real.
Right. Right.
It is real, and we not getting it. We not getting
It's interesting because I've been in social work for since what? Let me count. Yeah. I mean, for over 20 years, 25 years.
yeah,
I can't say I run across too many programs for fathers. This is New York though, New York City.
New York.
So, and I'm not saying that they aren't any, but they're not as they're not as easily accessible.
That's
Clearly.
well, you know what? And Cammy, I tell you why. We I hit on it a little bit in the world of social work, and usually the people who are getting served are the most distressed families.
Okay. Okay.
You
True.
you you know that, and I know that.
Right.
So tucked in all of these services are services for children, services for mothers. And now you're starting to see them. The federal government has started to, and I'm by no means saying there's a billion things
Right.
like you would for, but there are things in almost every city. There are grassroots organizations, even at child support. Now, think about this. In the world of, I'll ask you, in your world of social work, how much time did you spend working with child support?
Actually, I mean, I was in a different. I was trying to prevent families from breaking down,
Breaking
so
up.
I didn't deal too much with that.
And deal with child support. Most people are in the preventive stage, are in the let's keep them from hurting each other stage.
Yeah, you're right. I was more in there. I was there.
But the reality is
Right.
where a lot of human services for fathers springs out of, and this is scary to say, is child support. Because the
Wow.
first word in the field of fatherhood is responsible.
Mm.
Let's go back to your first question.
All right. Okay.
Responsible. In traditional world, what is a dad's number one responsibility?
Right. Bringing in the bacon.
Paper.
Right. Right. I got you.
So as we started to transcend from deadbeat dads, remember there used to be a real strong campaign
Mm.
about these dads who are not paying, dad
Right.
beat dads.
Right.
Well, in that narrative, this powerful organization, this powerful movement of dads' rights, people who had financial wherewithal that were not paying child support because they felt that they were wronged in the way their children moved out and all of that, and the divorce thing,
Mm.
they came out and fought against child support, but they had the financial wherewithal. So enforcement
Mm.
became a battle. And that's
Okay.
why so much of child support enforcement, when you talk about people with money, men with money, it was punitive. You're going to think about some of the things they say. You'll lose your professional license.
Right. Right.
What brother in the hood got a professional license? Okay.
I got you.
You'll lose your driver's license. You won't be able to do this. You won't be
Right.
able to get a federal aid to go to school.
Mm. Mm.
It was, but what they started to see as times changed, social economics changed, the system started to take on more people to help. They start to see this whole movement around dead broke dads. And that's where the responsible fatherhood world comes from, serving the dead broke dad. And in that arena, child support was like, yo, here's a guy, got 3 kids, he's been locked up 4 times, he doesn't have an education, and he has $100,000 in arrears.
Right.
Is he ever gonna pay that?
Right, exactly. Right.
He can't get a job, so we're gonna keep taxing him. Yeah, we gotta keep taxing him because we need the money, but somebody gotta help him get a job.
Right.
So child support started in their narrative, in their policy, starting to put programs together. But they got so much fight back because people are like, well, you letting these guys get off without paying, and they can pay. And it became this world of 2 sides of the fence. So out of this side of the fence, you saw all of these grassroots programs come up. You saw a whole line of funding come around called responsible fatherhood funding that truly separated itself from the father's rights stuff. Okay. And the Department of Health and Human Services, the Office of Child Support, the Office of Family Assistance, OFA, they started, now it's been, I want to say we're going into year 15, I can't remember, but they started putting monies out specifically to help fatherhood service programs. And you saw them spring up in traditional services that serve low-income families. You saw it pop up in Head Starts. You saw it pop up in areas, rural and urban, that really served the poverty fight. So you saw all of these things come up, and now you talk New York. Let me tell you what New York has done. There's one program in New York called Strive, STRIVE.
Okay, all right.
Strive started attacking 2 brothers out of the James Weldon Johnson projects up in Harlem.
Right.
These 2 brothers, when they was, young brothers, they wasn't the brothers you wanted to mess with. They weren't. But while they were, changing up their understanding in the spot where you got the bars, they locked up and said, hey man, let's go home and work with some brothers that's like us, and start getting them ready to get out here and get jobs. And they came back and put together what we call a boot camp style process to get families back to work. And it was in your face, 9 to 5, grinded out, 60 minutes, picked it up, and down this whirlwind around economic stability. All of these programs popped up saying, oh, we can help people get jobs, because we thought that was the answer to fatherhood, because that's the #1 priority. Okay. But you still saw child support wasn't getting paid.
All right. Okay.
Why not? Because you haven't addressed the father's issue. You addressed the cause of my issue, but you haven't addressed my issues. My issues that I'm not accepting the responsibility of this thing because I'm still not right. So now you start to see, oh my God, he beefing with baby mama. That's where all this drama came out of. So now we got to work with you and baby mama not to beef. Well, we're working with dad, so we're not talking to baby mama, so to speak. We're trying to teach this dude some new ways of handling. Well, you're teaching him some new ways of handling, but when he go to deal with her and she's still handling the way they've been handling, he go right back. So guess what we don't see? Child support payments.
All right. Okay, I got you.
So now all of these services, how to be a dad, because now he's fighting for custody. Okay, what if he gets custody? He don't know how to take care of kids.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Oh, we got to teach him some parenting.
Right. You got a bigger problem. Right.
Now we got to teach him parenting. Basically, we got to raise this dude.
Pretty much. It sounds like.
Now let's go back to what I first said. Raising a 6'2", 245-pound man that can go get a job ain't pretty when it comes to funding. Our tax dollars, our people ain't going. Think about it. Me and you, we pulled ourselves up. We making a couple bucks, and they said that our tax dollars going to help the dude with 3 kids
I see what you're
who ain't working.
Right.
pay for his kids, and ain't nobody shooting no checks through my house to pay for these three.
Right. Right.
So now guess who's battling against that idea?
Right. I got you.
Other fathers.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's something. Wow.
So
Wow.
with all that being said, I'm not here to go through the history of it.
No, this
but
is good though. This is good.
There are things out there and resources, and I do know we're sharing screens. I know we're recording. I want to ask just real quick if I can share my screen if that's possible, because I want to show a website real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if you would just I think you gotta go to your security and allow me to share screen.
Man, you asking me a lot here.
Okay, no, I'm gonna show you exactly. It's so easy, man. I'm on these things all the time. So if you look at your toolbar, you see a little thing that says security. You see that little shield? It looks like a
there
little.
you go.
Click that, and there you go.
Share screen.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right, there you go.
Bingo.
All
So let me do this. I'm gonna share my screen. Tell me, can you see that website?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
For anybody that's watching and listening today, man, for all families, there is something called the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse. Let me say this up front, first and foremost, free. Okay, did I say that right? Free 99. Free 99. So you don't have to worry about cost. But if you look at this website's been around for about 15 years. And as you said, Cam, most people don't know about it. You know why? Because marketing and advertising is a business world, not a human service world. But what do you need to do to get information out? Market and advertise. Right. Nobody is going to pay for marketing and advertising with tax dollars for something that's taking care of grown men.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So you see, there's still a lot to get done. So someone like yourself, who's putting a podcast out that know about these things, like, well, hey guys, I know it's not a lot out there, but there are some resources. Check these out.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing that you see on this website, and I spend a lot of time on this website. Boom. First thing you see is for dads. Activities for fathers. Man, during COVID, this website put out over 30 different free virtual activities, trips you could take with your kids, ranging from little kids to teenage kids.
That's good.
Okay, just right here. They also work real hard, and I'm gonna see if I can show you this. Let me go to this real quick. The narrative, changing the narrative of who dad is, what dad is all about. It has been amazing with the work they've done. And if I can, I'm looking for one specific. They just put this new, it's called Dedications.
Okay. That's it. All right.
And these are big, but I want to share, I think it's this one.
Okay.
And just real quick, and I'm doing this because I want people to see that these PSAs, I want to talk about this. Because I use these PSAs in some of the schools that my kids went to. I was like, if you got a video showing, you got things showing, you can get these. They're free. Well, they're paid for by your taxes, but they're free. You can play these things and think about it at the school. I don't know how you are, but if something comes from my school that says for the parents of, they go in my wife's pile.
Right. I got you.
But at my son's high school, they just graduated. They had the All Pro Dads program. Okay. This is a national program. Pretty cheap to put in. I get emails every single day from the All Pro Dads chapter about things that help dads. I mean, everything from mental health ideas, tips on how dad can access mental health services, to having a great relationship, to keeping a fire in your relation. I mean, you get an email like this every day.
That's great.
For 4 years, I've been getting them emails every day. I've been a part of the chapter for 4 years.
Okay.
So, and that's educating who? Me, you.
Right.
Human services ain't going to help. So, but I want to show this real quick if I can. Let me see this.
What's more dangerous? A man who isn't afraid of death, or one who's found everything to live for? I asked him if he was proud of me. He emphatically said yes, as he laid his pecan-colored head on my chest, and I went through my mind 1,000 times to figure out what that could possibly mean, and every single example ended in motivation for me. So you may not be afraid to die, but I'm more afraid to let them down. and I found something to live for, which is a dangerous motor forever fueled. See, your thoughts may be involuntary, but my actions are very calculated. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. My sons ain't raised by no coward, and they won't be one either. If this be the measure of a man, the yardstick gon' need way more meters. I take it too far, so they never come up short, because I found everything to live for.
So what you're going to see is all of that from Father's Day forward will be going on for the next year on TV, on radio, on billboards.
Nice.
From this meeting, watch what you're going to see, because your reticular activating system is going to be open for this. You're going to start to see billboards in New York that you had never seen before. You're going to see stations on the bus that you never noticed before. We've been doing that for the last 15 years.
Oh, wow.
In New York, Seed Co., large company, has been serving dads and families for the last 20 years out of every major borough.
Wow.
Okay. But again, there's no financing behind marketing. See, it almost has to become a business model for us to change the narrative. Huggies put business, they calculated, hey, wait a minute. We need to market to dads, because now with the narrative changing in structure of houses, we got to get in dad's pockets for these diapers.
That's smart on their part.
that. So now you see, watch, you're going to start to see Huggy commercials. You'll be like, during the Super Bowl, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's a father that they marketing to. But and that's why we're asking with these PSAs and all of this, asking people at schools and programs that play these things. Because what happens, it's just like when you buy a brand new Benz, the red Benz, what do you see on the road? The same Benz everywhere. But until you know how the mind works, until the mind of the people is open to the concept, we don't see it.
I like that, man. I like that. I got one more question I want to ask you. One more important, right?
Sure.
And thank you for taking over my screen, man. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna give it back to you right now. I'm sorry. Let me give you your screen back. Here we go. I'm back.
It's all good. So
that's why you don't let a consultant on your show.
Yeah. So listen, man. You gave me a lot more information than I bargained for or expected. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, my brother.
But I guess the reality of it is that women obviously tend to come and ask for help more than men, right? So that's who's knocking on my door, especially in terms of children, right? So what would you say to someone like the single parent, the single mom, or the grandma who's raising the kid and the dad isn't around? Like, what would you say to them?
There are a couple things, and I always start this out. Do all you can to get dad involved if it's healthy.
Right.
And you know what I mean there. Okay. Yeah. So I don't want anybody to hear anything that oh yeah, daddy's got to be. No. If daddy ain't supposed to be involved because of whatever situations or the person or what he's dealing with, then don't involve him. Don't hear me wrong. Okay. But I do say this. One of the things that, and you know this, I think we can all say it. Men look for help usually when it's in the last hour.
Yes, they do.
Where I have not been able to figure it out on my own. You know how we do. Right. And I laugh about it, but the reality of it is we've been taught to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps so much that sometimes we still trying to pull ourselves up and ain't no bootstraps. And it's when you ain't got no bootstraps is when you say, okay, I'm rock bottom. I hate that word, but that's where it's at. When a bruh is rock bottom, he's sitting at home and he contemplating, and I want to ask you, when you hear a brother say, man, I got to do what I gotta do.
Right.
Because usually that's that I'm at my wit's end. So what do I say here? Moms, and I'm gonna go grandmoms first because grandmas have such a huge influence on dads. You know, or men. Your nana say something to you, man. You start listening different. Even when I'm working with programs, I tell them all the time, look, when you're registering a guy for a program, get his grandmother's number. Because his cell phone number might change, his address might change,
Right.
but his grandmama number ain't gonna change.
This is true.
So why do I say all of that? Because there are things that you can share with and leave for a gentleman that can help him be ready. And you see me looking at something because I'm pulling something up to share with you.
Okay.
He'll move when he is ready. And this is huge because there's what I'm showing you here is the only hotline. You see that? This hotline has been set up and been running for probably about 10 years. It's a way. I was walking the streets and a grandmother saw me and I had a shirt on that said Fathers Matter.
Okay.
And she said, oh, I wish somebody could get that point across to my daughter's father's, my grandbaby's father. And I said, what's up? Well, he was this, he was that, but he still need to be, because grandma's old and got wisdom.
Right.
Baby mama, which I hate,
Right.
may still be young and emotional on the deal, but grandmamas,
right. They've been around.
they've been around.
Right.
And it's usually a grandmama that's trying to help. So this number 1-877-4DAD-411 is it's a number where it's amazing how many times guys make the phone call when they're at rock bottom.
Okay.
It could be child support, it could be a job, it could be I'm about to hurt myself, it could be I'm stuck at home with the baby, I don't even know how to change diapers. And we have licensed clinical social workers
Okay.
there. And then Parent Help has a virtual service programs for fathers and for families. So now that guy can get connected to some services in his local area. And if there is God, Dania Roberts in the community that might be doing some pro bono or some sliding scale service,
Okay.
maybe that dude could end up in your office.
Got you.
So these are the things, and I share that because these are the things that I say to people all the time. Keep telling the dad that there is resources. Keep telling the dad he's wanted and there's resources. He's wanted and there's resources because he's only going to make the decision when he makes the decision.
True.
You know, the easiest way to get a guy not to do something is tell him what he need to do. Or at least that is how it is in my house. My wife, you need. No, you ain't getting that done. Nah, that ain't because your ego don't let you do that. But all jokes aside, the more of us that can continue to let fathers and men know that it's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to say I need help. Yeah. If grandma or even mother of child can say, hey, you ain't no less the dude asking for help.
Right.
Because it's at that point where and I'll just say this, I have worked with a number, crazy numbers of fathers, and I would say less than 1% has ever said they don't care about their kid.
Wow.
99% of the dudes I have worked with in their heart want to do right by their kid.
Wow.
Oftentimes they run away because they know they ain't the right dude to be around their kid. You know, look, one of the rules of the street is you don't bring dirt to your family.
Right.
So if I'm dirty and this is where my lady and my family lay, I ain't coming around here. because I bring, that's old rules, I guess. It might be some new rules on the street, but that was the rules the brothers wrote. But I don't bring dirt to my family. I don't bring dirt. I don't put harm in their way. So if I ain't got to take care of my little man, I got to roll. If I'm getting high, I'm doing this, I got to go, because it's gonna mess him up, mess her up. So the more that we can show guys that it's okay to say you need help, and little cards like this, that flyer I showed you is a little postcard flyer. Man, drop that in the drop that at grandma's house. Grandma put it in his pocket. Baby, just take this with you. Man, grandma only, baby, take that with you. You know how grandma do. Take that with you. Go ahead.
Right.
And that day when he looking, that day when he need it is there. So that's what I would say to any family who's trying to do it. And then the other thing to that, don't close the door on the village.
Okay, say a little bit more about that.
As a football coach, I've been coaching little kids for a minute. Do I have a number of kids, young kids who've come through the program who are in single family households? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you will not believe how many times I have had to have a conversation with a mother who has that 11, 12-year-old who's starting to smell himself. He as big as she is,
Right.
you know, he a little physical,
Right.
and he ain't acting right at school or what have you. And mama say, well, he ain't getting nothing. He ain't going to game. He ain't doing this. He ain't going to do this. And I say, mama, please don't ignore the village.
That's good, man.
I say, you got 5 men who this boy listens to.
That's good.
Who, if you come tell Coach Worthy he acting out, please come tell. Oh my goodness, man. I'm gonna tell you a story I had, and I tell this story because one place, and I'm gonna say this for African American men, one place where the African American man can put himself back into his rightful spot in the family is on that daggone field or on that court.
This is true.
I had a gentleman, very well-to-do, Caucasian man, lawyer, had a son who was, you know, what you would call well-to-do little snot. I won't use the other word, okay? But he was a good little player,
Yeah.
And he was on the field and he was doing his little snot. And I get over here, and we went at it. And I said, well, I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna sit your tail right here. Sit down. I want to sit down. He sat on the bench. His father looked at me when I came over because I saw him watching. I'm like, oh, this might be, you know, I might have look, this dude a lawyer. And I walked over to him and I started to tell him what he said. I don't care what you did. Kick his ass.
Okay.
Because I can't do nothing with him.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay.
So I'm like, huh?
All right.
And so me and him, that boy is in college now, but he's a good, great kid.
Oh, wow, right.
But you know, and then I've seen mothers who, you know, when dad was home, he was acting right. Now dad's away. You know what we mean, away.
Yeah, I got you.
And my man is tripping. Yep, come on. He's with me 3 days a week for 6 hours after school. Trust me, on this field, I can get into his head enough to give him some support, some love, some understanding, but also some guidance. So don't neglect the village.
Yeah, man.
Don't take people. The scariest thing is watching all of the sports and this be taken away. Don't take that away, especially for boys. Don't take that away from them. Because something about testosterone that make you physical. I don't know what that is. It just makes you. Right. And if you take that away, now you're gonna see that physical. The physical won't come out.
Right, somewhere.
Right. So right. I just say, you know, keep telling the dad that the biological, if it's right, you'll want it, but don't forget the village. Don't, you know, don't close the door saying, oh, can't nobody know. If little man or little lady is not acting right, because, you know, the last part of that is everybody said, oh, well, you know, a boy needs his father. A boy needs his father. Yes. But here's what I will submit to everybody on this podcast. girls need their fathers probably more.
Mm. Mm.
Because what we've seen in the work, the most vicious
Mm.
person without a daddy in their life
Mm.
is a young girl.
Wow. Wow.
In the high schools, you ask any teacher, what fight don't you want to break up? She said, fight between two girls.
Okay.
It's become a vicious cycle. And why? Because now the narrative of you don't need a man, whatever, that narrative is playing. But now I don't know what to look for in a man. So I see a grown male and we go do what grown-ups do. And now I got something that I got to carry with me. I got to be a parent. When it's inside of you, you got to be a parent.
Right.
But it's outside of him. And he's a grown male. So guess what he do? He turn it break. And you stuck. And we're watching young ladies make that decision over and over incorrectly and never knowing, Mr. Roberts, you home with your kids and your wife and you, because I didn't have that example of what I should be looking for. So now watch this. I raised 3 boys or 2 boys.
Okay.
I have no idea. And all 3 of y'all look like the 3 that left me.
I got you.
Now, let's talk about how that mentally plays in people's decision making. So all of this, and that's why I wanted to be on your show, all of this boils down to the mental, emotional well-being of people. Because if I'm not good here and here, I can't make the best decisions for anybody outside of me. So mamas need mental health services, daddies need mental health services, the dog needs mental health because we all dealing with stress, trauma, and all these things that have got us out of whack. So I'm gonna stop there, man. It's just so much. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, listen, man. It's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate your time, man. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, man. And hopefully maybe we can have you come back, and talk about some other stuff
Yo,
too.
Cammy, you can call me any day.
All right, man.
And
Brother James, man, listen, we'll talk some more,
all
man.
right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
All right, man.
All right.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy.